You ever notice how we just think in pairs? It's kind of funny. We seem to naturally split the entire world, our experiences, even ourselves, into two. It's a pattern that's so deep we don't even see it most of the time.
I mean, just think about the most basic things. We've got light and we've got dark. You can't really have one without the other, right? It's one of the first ways we start making sense of everything around us.
And this goes way deeper than just physical stuff. We look for order. We're scared of chaos. We use these two big ideas to build our societies, tell our stories, even to try and figure out the universe itself.
But maybe the most personal one of all is this one, mind and body. You've got your inner world of thoughts, and then you've got the physical body that carries it around. Well, this fundamental split, it has a really powerful name in philosophy, dualism.
Okay, so let's really dive in. What are people actually talking about when they say dualism? Because it's a lot more than just noticing pairs. It's a whole theory about what reality is actually made of.
So, at its heart, dualism is the idea that the universe isn't just made of one kind of stuff. It argues that there are two totally different and separate things going on, like mind and matter, and you can't just boil one down into the other.
And to really get it, you've got to know its main rival, which is monism. Monism says, nope, it's all one thing. A materialist, for instance, is a monist. They believe everything is physical matter, and our thoughts are just, brain chemistry. Dualism is the philosophy that steps in and says, whoa, not so fast.
Now this is where it gets really epic. Let's see how this whole idea of two plays out on a massive cosmic scale. Because this isn't just some dusty old philosophical idea, it's the engine behind our greatest stories.
This is where we get moral dualism. Yep, the ultimate battle of good versus evil. You see it everywhere in ancient religions. In Zoroastrianism, it's a constant struggle between a good creator god and an evil force. Manichaeism turned it into a full-blown cosmic war between a spiritual world of light and a material world of darkness. And for the Gnostics, our physical world was actually a flawed creation made by a lesser, kind of dumb god, and it was trapping sparks of the real, true God.
What's really cool is that this cosmic conflict kind of comes in two flavors. You've got radical dualism, where two equally powerful forces are just slugging it out. Neither one is guaranteed to win. But then you have mitigated dualism, where one side is clearly superior. Like in Gnosticism, the flawed creator of our world is just a weak imitation of the true supreme God.
Okay, so let's pull back from the cosmos and all the gods and demons and bring it right back into our own heads. And to do that, we have to talk about the guy who made dualism famous in the modern world, a French philosopher named René Descartes.
We've all heard this quote, right? But what's the big deal? Well, for Descartes, this was it. This was the one thing he was absolutely sure of. The very act of him doubting his own existence proved that a thinking him had to exist to do the doubting in the first place. This was his rock-solid foundation. And for Descartes, this wasn't a small difference. It was an absolute firewall. He said the mind is just pure thought, a thinking substance that's not physical at all. It doesn't have a size or a shape. The body, on the other hand, is extended substance. Its whole job is to be physical and take up space. They're two completely different categories of being, playing by totally different rules. And here's his logic, which is pretty clever. He said, look, I can imagine that I don't have a body. Maybe I'm a ghost or a brain in a jar. But, he said, I cannot imagine that I don't have a mind, because the act of imagining proves my mind exists. And if he can doubt one but not the other, he figured they must be two different things.
But hang on, not all dualism is about conflict and total separation. What if the two big principles of the universe weren't at war, but were actually in a constant flowing dance? Let's check out a worldview that's all about balance. And of course, that brings us to yin and yang. Now, unlike the good versus evil thing, yin and yang are not enemies. They're partners. They're complementary forces that are totally interconnected. You just can't have one without the other.
So you can see the associations here. Yin is linked to the passive, the dark, the feminine. Yang is the active, the light, the masculine. They're opposites, for sure, but they flow into each other. Night becomes day. Quiet becomes loud. It's a dualism of harmony, and together they make a balanced whole.
This quote really nails it. I mean, just look at the symbol. There's a little dot of dark in the light half and a little dot of light in the dark half. It's a perfect visual that says this is about coexistence, not some cosmic battle to be won.
All right, let's bring this ancient idea crashing right into today. Because believe it or not, the core questions of dualism are more important now than maybe ever before, especially when we start talking about consciousness and artificial intelligence. Today, the biggest challenge to dualism comes straight from science. The dominant view in neuroscience is that everything about your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your consciousness is all just physical stuff happening in your brain. There's no ghost in the machine.
So here's a look at the main players in the debate today. Dualism still has Descartes' old problem. How can a non-physical mind make your physical arm move? Physicalism says the mind is the brain, but it can't explain the explanatory gap, like how do firing neurons create the actual feeling of pain? Then there's functionalism, which has this creepy thought experiment called the philosophical zombie, a machine that could act perfectly human but be completely empty inside.
And it all comes down to what's famously called the hard problem of consciousness. See, explaining how the brain processes information is the easy part. The hard part is explaining why all that processing should feel like anything from the inside. Why is there a what it's like to be you? Science doesn't have an answer for that yet.
And that leaves us with this huge question. If we build an AI that can talk and act in a way that's totally indistinguishable from a conscious person, have we actually created a mind? Or just a really convincing puppet? This ancient debate about the ghost in the machine, it's not just for philosophy class anymore. It's becoming a real-world engineering problem.